Welcome to the Celtic Way post-match reaction from Ibrox today. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on a Twitter handle, and I'm joined by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay on a Twitter handle to discuss Rangers 0, Celtic 1, and I put a hashtag on my tweet that I put out earlier saying happy talk, Ryan. It is happy talk. Talk about things you like to do, and Celtic, what they like to do is to beat Rangers, and they've laid a wee early marker down by triumphing at Ibrox 1-0 to move 4 points ahead of their rivals. A wonderful goal by Kyogo Furuhashi. Tremendous result, and I'm going to take lots of credit for this, Ryan, because both you and myself have been positive all week about Celtic's chances. I did say they would win, and I did say that Brendan Rodgers would come into his own, and there was a wee bit of a tactical masterclass there from Brendan. Helped his team pull out the back. I said he would be working on a shape and a formation. When everybody saw the team before kickoff, lots of people feared the worst, but clearly there was a game plan there and a structure, and they stuck to it. All sorts of things to talk about, Ryan, but first and foremost, your thoughts about Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Wonderful goal to win it as well from Kyogo.
Yeah, welcome back to Celtic, Brendan Rodgers. Is the first thing I've got to say. What took you so long? It's been a couple of months. Today felt like the shot in the arm that was definitely needed for Celtic. You know, I think Celtic have been a bit up and down for the start of the season. A couple of really good results to begin with against Ross County and Aberdeen, but conceding goals. The disappointing result against Kilmarnock, and then yes, we kept a clean sheet against St Johnstone. I know that isn't a great thing in the grand scheme of things, but we kept a clean sheet at Ibrox. Just so happened to go and win the game as well. You know, I was talking before the game, and I was saying I would have taken a draw at that point. But you know, after Celtic scored, I was like, you know, I fancy them to hold on and keep this lead. Rangers were throwing caution to the wind for the whole game. They were throwing on attacker after attacker. They seemed to be replacing defensive players for attacking players and going for the going for the knockout blow or going for the equaliser. But Celtic stayed resolute, and it was just a great defensive performance. I think, you know, as much as Kyogo's goal will steal all the headlines, I think defensively it was a real force of a performance, especially with players that one has just entered the club. I know he had a poor sort of passage of play that led to the disallowed goal, but Lagerbielke, apart from that, I thought he did okay. And then Liam Scales, you know, I'd like to, first of all, take the opportunity to apologise to Liam Scales. You know, I was saying that he wasn't at the level to play for Celtic. Then he comes in and has a man of the match performance at Ibrox. Absolutely incredible. You know,
He wasn't my man of the match, to be fair, Ryan. He wasn't my man.
No, he wasn't mine either.
Callum,
but I was
Callum
just
McGregor.
saying,
Yeah. So that's just a personal thing, and to be honest, but let's just say, let the new Brendan Rodgers era commence. And I think today it kind of has. It was a performance full of commitment, full of desire, and full of bottle. I thought they showed tremendous Aristotle, as you would say, to go to Ibrox with no fans behind them and win a football match with Rangers constantly coming at you. I admired Liam Scales' performance, but I still thought between him and Lagerbielke, they weren't great, but somehow they muddled through it and got the job done. But for me, the best performer for Celtic on the day was Callum McGregor. I thought he was outstanding. And if you go onto the YouTube, you'll hear the pure Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers' thoughts. And I asked him a question at Callum McGregor, and I even got a name check, Ryan. Can you believe that?
love that.
He called me Tony, so there you go. If you go to YouTube, you'll hear it. So I was quite humbled by that.
Was that like the Brendan Rodgers version of Mate by Ange Postecoglou?
Yeah. Oh, it was a good mate, though. It was like a good one, you know. It was one of them kind of, you Naz kind of thing. But no, I was delighted with that, but just delighted with the performance today. I just thought, you know, all over the park, they had guys who just took on the mantle. And I go back to it, Ryan, since last Saturday when we had the after show against St Johnstone, and people were talking about how Rangers were going to hit Celtic for 3 and 4, and I just couldn't get my head around that kind of narrative. Even Brendan Rodgers joked himself that he was being placed on death watch by certain members of the media, but he was cool, calmness personified today. And I alluded to it during the week, and I said, look, do you not think he's been working on a shape? The only thing I might have got wrong was the fact that I thought he'd been working on a shape with the new guys that were coming in, but he was working on a shape with all the guys that were there in a style and a formation. And Celtic played some really good football today and could have killed it off at 2-0 at times.
Wasteful.
Yeah, wasteful. I would agree with that. And Maeda just doesn't stop running, does he? I think he's still running just now.
I think he still is. I don't think he took the bus home. He just ran on the motorway. That wouldn't surprise me from him. Yeah, I thought not everything came off for him in an attacking sense, but defensively, you're always going to get that shift from him. Regardless of the game that he's going to have in an attacking sense, defensively, he's going to put up there with the numbers. He's going to be one of the highest runners in the team. And that's just such a great banker to have in the team. Yes, he doesn't have the best technical ability, you could say. I do think he's a decent player, but he's not the best player on the park. He's never going to be Celtic's best player on the pitch or the guy that's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat with regards to skill. But he'll put in a shift for you, and you need that. You need men that are going to do that. Brendan Rodgers talked after the match saying that he needed these men on the park, and he got that. He got that in abundance with a lot of performances. I mean, there's a couple of players in particular that I could wax lyrical about, and I know we'll get onto it. But I think a special shout out does go to Daizen Maeda. He does the thankless tasks. He does the thankless running. But I'm thanking him just now. Thank you, Daizen Maeda, for all the running that you do. Yeah, defensively brilliant. I think he totally nullifies Tavernier as a threat because he's constantly at him. He's constantly being a nuisance, basically. And yeah, just another really, really good performance from Daizen Maeda. He's up and down with regard to his overall ability, but I think today he came up trumps for his defensive work.
And the great thing about it, Ryan, is that that's a makeshift team. There are more players to be added to that team. Wait till Celtic kind of kick into gear and hopefully put on the afterburners and the boosters and stretch away. I don't think you can underestimate how phenomenal that result is today, because I think if ever a Celtic team was there for the taking, perchance, and a Rangers home match at Ibrox, it was today. Yet they withstood everything. Yeah, a couple of decisions went their way, but you've got to have that on days like that, haven't you? But to a man, Celtic performed their duties, and even the substitutes when they come on. Thought Old and Thiago Holm looked good as well. We were talking about that before we came on here. Carried the ball for lots of time and gave the defence a rest. Gained a lot of territorial advantage. Yang looked good as well. So, very, very impressed with everything today. Lots of comments coming in. Ryan will try and flick a few up. But yeah, they're just delighted with everything today. The manager, the players, and I'm delighted with the fact that we highlighted it during the week, Ryan, that it's come down to a battle of tacticians, and I always thought Brendan Rodgers would have the upper hand over Michael Beale in that sense, and I thought that the team would rise to the plate. I got one thing wrong. I said 2-0, didn't I? I was raging when your man saved that one from Abada, when Butland saved the shot from Abada, and Maeda just failed to convert. But yeah, you're getting greedy then, aren't you? But I just thought, in my head, that's the way the game played out beforehand, and I just thought Celtic were bang at it today. They were excellent, and lots of comments coming in about a certain player as well, Matt O'Reilly, and I'll flick a few of them up. I know you.
I thought he was man of the match. I thought he was the standout player today. I thought he is, for me, at the moment, I think he's 5 for 5 in all the games. I think he's been man of the match in every single game that he's played so far this season for Celtic. He is really, really buying into what Brendan Rodgers. I think now, over this international break, I think Celtic should be asking Matt O'Reilly the question in terms of a bumper deal. Celtic are going to, and not to punt any of the players away so quickly after such a big result, but Celtic are going to make a lot of money on Matt O'Reilly. What a football player he is. he is the real deal, as they say. He was
Preaching
running
to
that
the
game, and
converted on that one, I think you'll find. It's
I
probably
think
to
Brendan
the
Rodgers is a big fan of him as well. It's
yeah,
very, very clear that he does like that sort of player. I've named the
yeah,
players that Brendan Rodgers has worked with in the past, and he's made better players. You look at James Maddison doing a great job down south with Tottenham at the moment. Coutinho, he's had a really good career as well. Even Stuart Armstrong. These attacking midfielders. Matt O'Reilly's the next one in this long list of attacking midfielders that have got better due to this manager. I think he was absolutely sublime today, both in the attacking. The header, the assist for the goal is, I think it's every bit as good as the finish because it's such a lovely weighted header to
yeah,
Kyogo. Kyogo can just run onto it and take the shot. Kyogo does what he does best and scores goals. But
yeah,
Matt O'Reilly's defensive work was absolutely incredible as well. How many interceptions in the middle of the
yeah,
park? I think he's
yeah,
going a wee bit deeper as well today.
yeah. It was, his
That's his
header to
position.
his header to Kyogo was brilliant. It was the old Bill Shankly, wasn't it? Do you know what to do, son? Just stick it in the net, and we'll discuss your options later. And what I mean, I mentioned this, and I mentioned it again. Kyogo's got 3 goals this season. He's had 4 touches of the ball to score those 3 goals. That tells you everything you need to know. When you get him in within that range, he will bury it. And that was a hard chance. It's probably the hardest of the chances that he was presented with.
Mhm.
He took it so
That's
early,
Kyogo
and
for
he's
you.
20 yards to beat a goalkeeper. Jack Buckland's a decent goalkeeper,
Very
and
decent. Very
he's
decent.
leathered that into the net. Brilliant strike, great strike. Yeah, I'm going to read some comments because everybody's desperate to have their say, so I'll read a few out. Ryan, Mo Sislak, wonderful result. Hazel Finn just coming in and saying what everyone thinks. Yes! Mo Sislak back in. Brendan pulled it out the bag today. He most certainly did. Scott Howe, wait till Celtic are at full strength. Man after my own heart there, Scott.
I think it would have
Scale
been a lot more
stepped up.
comfortable if the full team was there today.
Yep. Scale stepped up to the plate. Yep, it did. And Scott back in. Scales, Calmac, Hart and Kyogo getting the claps from him. Patrick McLaughlin was a sublime strike from Kyogo who's really turned the screw on Rangers. He has indeed. Curtis O'Reilly's an absolute master at reading the game for interceptions. He was terrific today, and that wasn't he? And Matt O'Reilly was immense, says Patrick McLaughlin. LT135. O'Reilly and McGregor were brilliant, especially first half. Peter J. Fanning saying, stuck to their task as a team should. This may be the making of this team and better to come in the future. Did you ever doubt it? Curtis, Tony, what about O'Reilly's interceptions today? So good at reading the game. You've spoken about that.
He's a
Ryan
joy. He's an
already.
absolute joy to watch.
O'Reilly was brilliant today. He was. O'Reilly overall game is developing. So excited to see him for the rest of the season. O'Reilly was Paul McCann's man of the match. Cal back for me, but hey, I wouldn't argue with either of those two. Great togetherness today, says Barry Jackson. Jacqueline
Does that not tell you though? Does
watching
that not
Glasgow
tell you
Celtic
though
put on a
that
show. Go on, Ryan. Sorry.
Callum McGregor and Matt O'Reilly should be the two in that double pivot for the time
They,
being
they
until an
can play
attacking
together.
return. It's a much better fit than Turnbull being in that deeper position.
Yeah.
I think Matt O'Reilly's got to play deeper in that sort of. Trying to think of a player that he's like. You can name a couple of players that he's like, but he's just so hard working. He's tall as well. He puts himself about. He's imposing, but he can move. For a tall guy, he can move about that midfield. He gets stuck in. He gets busy. He's always putting in nothing less than 100%, and he got his rewards today. I thought he was an absolute standout. But Cal McGregor, as Derek McKinnon says, you stop Cal McGregor, you stop Celtic. Rangers couldn't stop Cal McGregor today. Therefore, Celtic won the game. I think it's a simple game when you
Funny
put it like that.
that.
I know. As he's just, it's like Callum McGregor. Where has he been all season? Then he turns up in this game. I'm sure he'll have a couple of good performances for Scotland over the international break, and Celtic will just get they'll just get their talismanic figure in the middle after the international break. But what a great spark into life for Callum McGregor. Were we doubting him? I know a couple of people were doubting him, but he's came back.
Paul Byrne, every player was brilliant. Cal Mack, first half, O'Reilly, second half, exceptional though. Callum Dunning, Callum was incredible today, dominated the middle of the pitch, he most certainly did. Stephen Pollock, Matt O'Reilly was superb, always rated Scales, never let Celtic down today. Scales or O'Reilly were both standouts, says Robert Baker. Hazel Finn saying there's a maturity about O'Reilly since Brendan Rodgers came in. and Jessica
Agreed.
Hardy saying, and Brendan Rodgers, we have a master tactician, a team full of injuries, weak in most places, but for her skills as man of the match, the guy gets critiques and doesn't get the compliment he deserves. So, bigging up Liam Scales today. So, yeah, just a wonderful result, Ryan. Just go into that winter break, international break even, and just maybe get players back, the new guys that are coming in, get them integrated into the system and go again. But this is a result that you craved before you went in, and you've got it. And on the back of a brilliant performance, it was everything that was good about Celtic, but heart, but soul, real togetherness, a manager, a tactical masterclass from the manager, and everybody playing their hearts out for said manager. And it's a happy ship and a happy camp that heads into the international break, Ryan. And it could have been a lot worse. It's not. And we said all week that Celtic would put a smile on the doubters' faces, and they most certainly have done that, haven't they?
Yeah, I feel like they had to, because if they didn't, then it would be such a long international break. If they hadn't have even scored today, that would have been 3 games in a row that Celtic
Yes.
had drawn a blank. I was so glad that Kyogo scored. Even when he scored, I was like, well, regardless of what happens for the duration of this game, Celtic have scored a goal. I remember what it's like for Celtic to score a goal again. It feels like it's been so long since it happened, but
And
yeah.
what a goal. What a goal. That's a
It's just a
world-class
Kyogo.
finish. It really
It's
is.
just a
I don't
Kyogo.
care what anybody says.
We will downplay it, but it's what Kyogo does. I tweeted straight after he scored, he's the best since Larsson. He's got to be. There has been many strikers since Larsson left Celtic Park as the greatest ever foreign player to play for Celtic. You've had your Hoopers, Dembele's, Edwards, etc. But I think Kyogo's the man. Kyogo's record. I mean, did he not score his first goal against Rangers this year?
Yeah.
And then he's went and scored another 4 since then. That something's just clicked for him.
And
the duck's gone, and now he's the most feared player on the park.
That's 57 and counting, Ryan, in his Celtic career.
Could break the 100 this year. Could you imagine? I mean, if he stays fit, that'll be his target.
I'm ahead of you. I am imagining.
Yeah.
And if he does that, then you've got to think that you'll be in with a good shout of winning the title again. But let's not get too far ahead. But yeah,
I thought it was quiet today, really, really quiet. But
when he was involved, he was decent. When he was involved, I think he tried the too clever a finish for the one that Abada swept along the goal, and he tried the kind of flick finish, didn't he?
See,
when I thought he should have gone with these, just gone with the foot and rattled it. But
I think he was trying to play it to Abada. I think he honestly was trying to pass it to Abada. Just with the angle, I don't know if you've seen the chance back, but it looks as if he's trying to backheel the ball to Abada. He sees his run coming in, and he's like, "I'll just lay it." But sometimes I want Kyogo to just be
once in
selfish.
Real time. Yeah, so do I. I thought that was crying out for being a selfish striker, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt if that's what you're telling me, because I say I've only seen it in real time because I'm just back from Ibrox enjoyable occasion that was indeed. But yeah, and Brendan Rodgers touched upon it as well. It's just a different spectacle altogether when there's no away fans there, and I say that for both venues. So the sooner it returns to a normal and respectable allocation, the better. But there's something missing, certainly from those games when there's no away supporters there. But Celtic certainly rose to the plate today and came away with a wonderful result, excellent performance, and I think they did everybody involved and connected with Celtic proud, Ryan. I really did. I just thought that was they dug deep. They just refused to accept anything other than a victory. Lagerbielke and Scales, even though Scales more so than Lagerbielke, but Lagerbielke was, a lot of nervous moments, didn't he? And looked a bit shaky, but
there was one in particular that was very nervous.
Yeah.
I bet his heart was in his mouth. I was seeing that Well, I've seen that VAR review. That was a bit of a weird one on the television because the home support celebrated when the goal was disallowed.
Yeah,
There was a
yeah,
bit of
yeah.
confusion. I thought the
I
same.
thought he pointed to the centre circle. That's what I thought.
I thought it would be the one moment where the referee dismissed what the VAR people were saying with regard to the foul. When you look at the clips back, it is a clear foul on Lagerbielke. There is a clip there. You can see the contact coming in, regardless of the arguing that will no doubt happen over the next couple of days. I think it was a foul. Lagerbielke, yes, he was sloppy. He took too long on the ball. But he's learned his lesson. But at least he's learned his lesson and he hasn't conceded. He's felt the concession of the goal, but then the goal's taken away. And I'm not going to say that's the beauty of VAR, but that's why VAR's in to get those
Yeah,
decisions right. And I
I
felt
get
like
them
the
right.
decision was right at that point.
And it was a pivotal decision because Celtic were having their best spell in the game at that point.
That's what
Brendan
Rodgers was saying, yeah.
Rodgers noted that as well, and I thought that as well, and I thought it would have been a right kick in the teeth had that goal stood, but it didn't. So thankfully, VAR did its job for once with regards to a tight Celtic decision.
Yeah, they put the possession stats up after that VAR decision, and it was at that point it was 71% possession in the last 10 minutes between Celtic and Rangers. The Rangers only had 29% at home, which is pretty much unheard of. They'll never get that against any other team in the league. Maybe even some other European games as well. They like to be in the front foot, but yeah. Celtic really were getting into the game at that point. They were causing problems, and that would have just been terribly unlucky if Celtic conceded that goal because they were the better team. I thought they were the better team for large spells of that match. You know, both the defensive play and their attacking.
They played the better football in large periods of that match, Ryan.
The wee triangles that they were playing.
The more controlled football I thought came from Celtic, and I thought Rangers huffed and puffed and created some chances in either half, but I think Celtic played the more controlled football and with a wee bit more of a clinical edge. Could have scored a second or a third, and you mentioned the word they were wasteful. They were wasteful because some of their more incisive attacks could have been converted into goals, but again, that's nitpicking of the highest order. They went into Ibrox with a real makeshift defence, a makeshift kind of team, and have come away with a wonderful result. And if anything, I expected a hell of a lot more from Rangers, to be fair. So
yeah, they seem to fling more and more attacking players on, but the more attackers that they brought on, the less of a threat they looked, because I think they lost their shape completely. That just it became very lopsided, and Celtic were getting chances on the counter quite regularly to finish the game off. If O was a bit more, I think I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's just coming back from injury. If O had been back in for a couple of weeks, I just wonder if he'd have taken maybe some of his chances. I know he was trying to play the ball to, who was it down that side? It was Yang. He was trying to play it to his fellow countryman Yang, but I think a couple of weeks and he would have been more.
I also made a case in my starting 11 for Odin Thiago Holm to start in place of Turnbull, and I liked Odin Thiago Holm's cameo when he came on. I thought he got us up the park a lot when he came on. Lots of territorial advantage and could carry the ball, and he even had a shot at one point, didn't he? And I think maybe a sharper Odin Thiago Holm could even have scored that one that he kind of ran and thought, right, I'm going to have it here, but just didn't catch it, and it was a comfortable enough save for Butland. But I like to look at him, and I just thought, okay, lots to work with there. Now you've got a kind of 2-week break, and you get them all together now, don't you? You get the new guys integrated, you get them all in, and it'll be a happy camp for the next couple of weeks. You can look at these things in two ways. You want to try and build momentum, don't you? You want the next game to come very quickly, but I'm actually quite happy that there's a break now. Just get everybody together and, just show them what can be achieved when you're all working towards the same end goal, and I think the manager will be absolutely delighted with that today. You saw a team playing for him and playing for the supporters that were absent, just playing for the Celtic cause in the jersey, and I was more delighted about that than anything. And keeping a clean sheet at Ibrox when everybody prior to kick-off was thinking, oh no, here we go, we're up against it here, and predicting all sorts of stuff, but I still had faith in the manager. I had faith in those players, even Scales, to do a job. So we've been quite steadfast in our belief that we have an elite level manager at the club, Ryan. That's why he's there. Told you these were the games that flicked his switch. He's got his managerial juices flowing, and he's produced it today. To be fair, he's set out a team to play in a certain way, and everything is, kind of falling their way as well. So great, I'm delighted about that.
Yeah, me too. And I think these are the games that Brendan Rodgers came back for. I don't think there was much of a challenge the first time around, maybe except the last season because of that previous relationship with Steven Gerrard at Liverpool. That sort of I know that he's familiar with Michael Beale as well, due to the fact that he worked at Liverpool at the same time. I think he coached one of the younger teams, one of the under squads. But yeah, I think this challenge or the challenge that's presented to Brendan Rodgers, you've seen this over the past week. I think the sound bites that have been coming from Brendan Rodgers are far more in line with what we expected Brendan Rodgers to be like when he came to the club. Sometimes you just need an on switch. You need a game that's going to flick the on switch and get you going. And I feel like Brendan Rodgers has been a wee bit, not pessimistic, but a wee bit muted with certain things, with certain comments, talking about the recruitment. You needed a Glasgow Derby to come around to really flick the switch, and he's shown again why he largely dominated in these games when he was manager the first time around. Just with half a team, I think you've got to give credit to the manager. He's had a lot of criticism over the past 2-3 weeks for the results that haven't went Celtic's way, but he's got to be given credit. He had half a team out there today, or half a first team, and he still managed to get a result against a team that is, on paper at least, stronger than they were last season due to the players that they've brought in. Big outlays on players such as Danilo, Dessers, Lammers, etc. They're all new faces. Todd Cantwell, Raskin, but I thought the new guys that came in did pretty well as well. I know we were talking about Lagerbielke and he did look shaky, but I did think he was growing into the game the more it went on, and towards the end he looked like a solid defender at the back for Celtic. Now, I've seen better players than Lagerbielke struggle at Ibrox, especially in a defensive sense. So I think it takes character after making a mistake like that to come back and then defend and keep that clean sheet. So I think he deserves all the credit in the world. Liam Scales coming in from the cold. He didn't even know if he was going to be at Celtic at the end of this window. Then he goes in and puts what Sky Sports have said was a man of the match performance. He's definitely up there for me as well. Character building. I talk about these phrases: character building, shot in the arm. This international break is going to be a lot easier now thanks to Celtic's win today.
Yeah,
I think they've really, really helped it. And those that were doubting Brendan Rodgers a little bit more, I know there still will be doubters. That's just due to the fact of the way that he left, the fact that he plays different football to Ange Postecoglou. I think there'll be a wee bit less now because of today's result. Results at Ibrox always help, and results in Glasgow derbies always help a manager's cause, and they certainly will with Brendan Rodgers. So I think he's earned his wages today.
Yeah, without a doubt. Some more comments coming in, and I'll get to them as we speak now. Where was I? Here we are. Let's look at them. Big Dom. Brendan was clearly on cloud nine in his post-match interview. Take it from me, he most certainly was. Big Dom sat feet away from him, so he was chuffed. Brown Warrior, that 2 weeks gets our injured players 2 weeks closer to first team selection. Feel good factor will be coursing through Lennoxtown right now. All good, Tony and Ryan. Yep, agree with that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm delighted that there's a wee break now. I know people want the next game to come along so quickly, but I think the season kind of starts now. Celtic get to work now. That's another hard game, a hard away game ticked off the list. Pittodrie was another
away game,
one.
Yeah, it's any away game. Yeah, they have turned up in the big away games so far in the league.
So, and I think that will please the manager greatly. And another thing that will please the manager greatly is the clean sheet. You cannot underestimate that clean sheet today. And I'll big up Joe Hart. He was there when Celtic needed him as well.
2 massive saves at the end from Danilo.
2 massive saves, yep.
But he also does really well with the Dessers chance. Not Dessers, Sam Lammers chance, because Lammers makes a great
him.
touch. Yeah, he forces him wide into a position. Now, Lammers isn't the greatest goal scorer, with all due respect. He's not got that track record of scoring a lot of goals, so maybe he was doubting himself in that position too. Joe Hart makes it as difficult as possible. It is a nice touch from Lammers, but then he just puts it into the side netting. Thankfully, my head was in my hands at that point. I thought he'd scored. And then I didn't hear the shout of the crowd, so I knew he'd put it wide. But Joe Hart, you know, I have I've been one of his maybe one of his loudest critics, and there will be tough. Well, today was a tough test. He's still got tougher tests in Europe to come, where he'll need to show that he's still of that level. But today, I thought he was absolutely imperious. He made every single save that he had to make. He's getting out quickly, off his line quickly. He understood when a ball was too short, he had to come out and boot it out. You know, I think he's happier in the Brendan Rodgers system because he's got more license to just put his laces through it, rather than Brendan Rodgers said in one of his first press conferences he doesn't need his goalkeeper to be playing like Ederson or Alisson, and Joe Hart will love that because you know it was effectively Ederson that put him out the Man City team in the first place, or he was one of the goalkeepers. So yeah, it's a good performance today from Joe Hart. He'll have he'll have plenty more battles to come, but I thought he had a really, really good and assured performance, and he can be delighted with his day's work.
I love this comment. I goal for proper joined up footy from the Celts. There you go. I'm right behind that. I think that's a great comment. But yeah, you know, you can't praise the team enough because they went there with a lots of. I guess that you turn these things into a siege mentality, don't you? When you're going there with a huge injury list and no supporters, so you do your best to get positives out of that situation, and I think that's exactly what happened with Celtic. They turned the kind of siege mentality button on, didn't they? And it works. It's amazing. It works wonders for players in those situations, doesn't it? That nobody's giving you a chance. Everybody in the stadium will be against you. Stick to your game plan. Stick to what you do best, and of course you can triumph. You know.
Sometimes I think Celtic should be the underdogs in a game as well because not much was expected of them. They could play their free game, and any of the good football that was getting played, the vast majority of it was coming from the away side in the game. You know, the passing, those wee networks that they were getting, the triangles that were passing, they were playing the ball out. It is less pass heavy than it was under Ange Postecoglou in terms of needing to play passes. Sometimes you can just put the ball up the line and get it away from danger. That'll suit a lot of the players on the park. Some players that maybe were struggling a bit on the ball under Postecoglou, they'll like having that new lease of life or that reversion back into a more traditional style that they know and they've played with for longer in their career. But some of the passing, some of the interplay was really nice as well. You know, Matt O'Reilly's a great connector of that. He was finding passes, he's making things happen. I'm looking forward. I'm already looking. You always look forward to doing the data roundups the next day after you've won a game. You know, because you can talk about all the positive things that have happened in the game. But I'm really, really looking forward to analysing how good Matt O'Reilly was in that game because I've only watched the game once. You know, I've watched the highlights a couple of times, as you do when Celtic win a Glasgow Derby, but I do want to see more from Matt O'Reilly and see how well he looked on that pitch because from where I was sitting watching the game on the TV, it looked as if he was running things. Every time he was on the ball, it looked as if something was going to happen. He's a match winner. Brendan Rodgers was talking about the match winners he wanted on his side. Yes, some of them might have been on the bench. You know, Palma didn't come off the bench, which I'm quite glad in a sense because you don't need to rush him. Allow him time to acclimatise to Scotland. I don't know if he got called up for Honduras. But if he didn't, then he's got that 2 weeks to get acclimatised to Scotland, and then that next home game is going to be exciting. There's no better place to make your debut for Celtic than at Celtic Park, so that'll be something to look forward to. We didn't even need to call on players like Phillips or Bernardo, so that's exciting as well.
James Floyd, now we can see the plan. Did you ever doubt there was a plan, James? Come on now. Regular.
I was doubting in my head subconsciously, but you know, these I know these managers, it may take some time, but it always clicks. It has to click. You know, he's too good a manager for it not to click.
He told you it would click. He told you on Friday it was going to click. Wait till it does. Bit of fighting talk from on Friday, and again, I loved all that stuff. And
I think the
just
support needed that though from Brendan Rodgers,
yeah,
because
of
there was a
course.
bit.
They needed that today as well to show that it wasn't just empty words, to show that there was substance behind it and there was a meaning and thought behind it. And they did have a game plan and a structure and a plan, as the last commenter there said. So I'm might want to tell my face, but I am ecstatic. You might not come across, but I'm deep down. I am absolutely delighted with what I saw today from Celtic, and knowing that they can get better.
Yeah, but
Than
what I
that.
always think about these games is, regardless if you win heavily, if you lose or you draw, they are exhausting to watch. They're unlike any other game that you can watch, especially when your own team are involved in it. They're right in the thick of things. By the end of that 90 minutes, now it was a really warm day anyway. It was really warm in my house, so you're sweating buckets at the end of it, just due to the nerves of the game, but also the temperature too. And I don't know about you, but you feel drained after those games. There's so much riding on it. It's the bragging rights. You talk about the bragging rights. That's a phrase that got used a lot at the end of last season. The Celtic have turned up when it really does matter at the first Celtic Rangers game of the season. They've come up trumps. They're 4 points clear. I think I didn't check the Motherwell score, but last time I checked that they were winning the game. So at worst, they're joint top with Motherwell, who have had a great start to the season. I'd need to double check that, but yeah, to be 4 points clear going into the first international break, and Celtic to not really hit top gear yet is some going. The cavalry is certainly coming with regard to the midfield. You think of Hatate in that team, you think of Bernardo in that team, then you go to the defenders. Still get Carter Vickers to come back, still get Mike Nawrowski to come back. Still get Luis Palma to come into the team. That all these players really
Marco
exciting.
Tilio.
Marco Tilio as well. I need to keep on remembering about him because we've not seen anything from him.
No, correct. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing more of him. And then you've got other guys like Yang and Kwon. All of a sudden there feels like there's less pressure on Celtic now because they've got that bit of a cushion at the top of the table. Absolutely brilliant to see. Bragging rights, a decent performance, could be better, but at the end of the day, the results are the only thing that matters. And Celtic get the 3 points. They're heading away from Ibrox is a very happy team.
And it's breathing base, isn't it? Getting into the international break. It's a bonus because we probably thought they would go and connect with each other, didn't they, up until this game? So I think it's it's testament to Celtic. That was a big result today.
Massive,
In
huge.
terms of morale in both camps. It's a demoraliser for Rangers, I think. And I think Celtic are, they can really go on from now. That's the marker laid down. And I say to you, I think today would be the day that they kick-started their season. I've been saying it all week. And I firmly believed that. And it wasn't blind faith or optimism. I was watching Rangers. I'd studied Rangers and thought Celtic still have players that can hurt them, but they have to execute the perfect game plan. And I knew the manager would be working on that. And I knew that if they could do that, then they could win. They could triumph and be successful. Not just go there and get a draw. Lots of people saying, I'll take a draw right now. Never want to take a draw. I want to win. I want to win. And nothing delighted me greatly today than winning and keeping a clean sheet. And I think the manager will see that too. Will think that as well. And also the fact that lots of people were writing off Callum McGregor after a few games too, saying he was a spent force, he was done. He was excellent today.
Write him off at your peril.
Matt O'Reilly, I could talk to now until doomsday about Matt O'Reilly. I just think so highly of him as a baller. I think he's absolutely a tremendous footballer, and yeah, I agree. He will not wishing him out the door, but he will go for a phenomenal fee when he does go.
It makes that bid from Leeds on deadline day truly offensive. That is
offensive. It's not even derisory. It's offensive.
It's
a joke.
offensive. What game did they want him for? What half did they want him for? Honestly, that he is fast becoming Celtic's prized asset in that team.
And you keep saying, watch, listen, open your ears, open your eyes, listen and see and observe. And it was all. I kept talking about the mood music all week, didn't I? And I just knew that a result like this would lift everything, and they were capable of doing that. And the mood music all week has been of negativity, doom and gloom, and people unhappy with the business they did in the window. None of the players that they signed in the window played, and they still went to Ibrox and won. And everybody thought that the players they signed in the window, at least 2 or 3 of them would start. So that tells you a bit about Celtic and the manager as well. Get a bit about them. He's been around. He's done a few things. He's been a highly successful manager. Don't call him an elite level manager for nothing. You'll get it right. You just have to give him time to do that and work on things. And I said as well from last Saturday that they've been working on Ibrox from the moment they drew 0-0 with St Johnstone. They'd have been in on a Sunday, and it would have started then. And I just knew that all those kind of days, I said there wasn't any guarantee of a win, but I knew that Celtic would be a different animal today when they played at Ibrox. And they did play. The commenter earlier, they played some wonderful joined-up football today. I thought at times, and could have with a more clinical edge have scored more. Should have probably scored more. Were wasteful, but I'm not being too critical because they've won a match, a big match when lots of circumstances were against you and lots of things going again. And it's easy to retreat into your shell and say it's not happening for us, in a game like that, and to say to retreat into it's only 4 games into the season, the league's not won in August, that kind of stuff. Leagues can be won, not certainly in August, but it's on these games where titles are won. You've gone there, laid an early marker, and now if you can improve, you hold the upper hand in the games because Rangers are going to have to come to Parkhead with no supporters as well and try and, replicate Celtic's success at Ibrox. That's a tall order. And I think it's a taller order when Brendan Rodgers will get his claws into that team moving forward.
As I said previously, the cavalry is coming in that midfield. You thought the midfield was good today. That was not a makeshift. I think that was maybe the one area that was more settled because they're all first teamers. Turnbull is a first team player despite having a below par game. We could say again he was the one out of the 3. Yes, probably looking back on it, he probably did a couple of things, but just on the first view, and I thought he was definitely the weakest out of the 3 starting midfielders. I don't think anyone would disagree or argue with that. Think about Haggerty in that team. Haggerty's still to come back, and then you've got the new arrivals to come in as well. Bernardo. It means that Bernardo isn't coming into the team and automatically being a first pick, and we're having to rely on him. He can come in now and acclimatise in his own pace. He's been brought in because he's got potential. Brendan Rodgers said that himself. He's a young player. He's going to learn from some great players around him like Matt O'Reilly, Rio Haggerty, Cal McGregor. Who better to learn from? He might play fleetingly over the first couple of months of the season. He might get starts if he's good enough in training, but he's got time. He doesn't need to come in and instantly make an impact. I'm just very, very from where Celtic were a week ago. With that St Johnstone game, it feels like a lifetime ago. Honestly, it's incredible how a result in a derby changes things, and in some ways, I know you're saying that you wish there was another game next week, but you were saying that it's good that there's a break. They can take stock. Another 2 weeks, you can tick those weeks off as 2 weeks closer to players coming back to full fitness, and then that 2 months that's been quoted for Carter Vickers and Stephen Welsh and Mike Nawrocki, that'll just count down and it'll go lower and lower, and they'll be back before we know it, which is always good. Rio Haggerty back before I think it's just after the international break. Haggerty's coming back. It's a really strong position as it is already. Yeah. It's going to get even stronger. So very much exciting times. And I think it feeds so nicely into the next round of games in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Brian McGarry comes in and says, but Tony, the team deserved a bit of criticism when they were off it, as well as the praise they get when they're on it, to be fair. Yeah, I get that, but it has to be balanced and measured. Brian, I think some of the criticism that Celtic were getting was over the top. I was trying to be balanced in our negativity, if you want to call it that. I felt we were balanced because we were giving them the benefit of the doubt that the manager was just in the door. He was trying to implement his style, after 2 years of playing to a certain template and various players looking like they were struggling to adapt to the adjustments that were being made. So yeah, I get all that, but some of the takes were wild. And as I said before, I come on here and I speak for myself as a Celtic supporter. Ryan speaks for himself. Don't claim to represent anybody, but I think one thing you'll say is we're pretty fair. I think we're evenly balanced. We don't just slaughter people for the sake of it. And I just felt that the negativity was getting out of hand in some sections and some quarters. And even the manager caught it himself with his wee quip today. Some sections of the media had me in death watch, and it was so. So that's fair enough. So
It was like an Ange quote today. That was like an Ange quote today.
Yeah, it was a wee
and
bit,
do you know, you can learn from the best. You can learn from the previous manager. So yeah, I like that sort of hybrid approach that Brendan Rodgers has got. I think he deserved his wee one-liner today for the job that he did.
Do you know what
this
it is,
afternoon.
Ryan? It's the words of a wise man, and it's a Yoda sitting there saying, "Calm I was," that kind of thing. You will learn the ways of the Force, that type thing. So, I think he's entitled to have his wee smug moment. But again, if you'd been listening to ourselves all week, we were bigging him up in that sense. We weren't kicking a guy when he was supposedly down, because I didn't think he was down. But there's a section that were maybe over the top with their criticism of the manager and the team because they'd failed to hit the target in the 180 minutes of football. These things happen. You have to earn the right. Celtic earned the right and more today to win that football match because they made sure, and I always thought that their approach to this particular football match would be different. I never saw Cantwell or Raskin today. I've heard so much about them. Old school Callum McGregor bossed them today. New school Matt O'Reilly bossed them today. Even Odin Thiago home when he came on, got the better of them, made Celtic
you get the freedom of Ibrox to basically roam forward.
So, and I'd heard so much about these players, and I watched them myself, and I was thinking, they're all right. They don't blow me away. When Matt O'Reilly and Callum McGregor are on it, they blow me away because they're good footballers. I can't speak for Cantwell and Raskin because I don't watch them on a repeated basis. I wouldn't be disrespectful to say they're not good footballers, but they've had a couple of occasions now to turn up against Celtic, and when I've watched them playing against Celtic, they've failed to turn up, and lo and behold, Celtic have won the game. When your big players turn up, Joe Hart, Cal Mack, O'Reilly, even Liam Scales put in a decent performance today. Kyogo, when it mattered, stepped up to the plate and he rattles one in from 20 yards. World class finish from a striker. He just knows where the goal is. Instinctive.
He's in his prime as well.
He's
He's really
running
in the
onto
prime
that
of his
ball.
career.
No even thinking, am I offside? Is there a flag going? Rattle, first thing in his head, get that ball and hit it. Get it on target. And
he's the only player in the park that would do that as well. I think he's got
with the confidence of a guy who sort of saying to the manager, "Do you know what? This is what I really do best." And he played him as a striker today, didn't he? There was no real link stuff from Kyogo today.
A couple, but not too much.
But he was played more as a striker, wasn't he? Because he relied on maybe Maida and Abada to get the ball to him, and Matt O'Reilly coming, from the midfield as well, if he could. So all over the park today, I was delighted with Celtic. They answered a lot of critics' questions from certain sections of support. Never answered any critic questions from me because I wasn't being heavily critical of them. Lots of people were even being critical of me for not being critical of them, but I gave them the benefit of doubt that it was still early, still a lot more to come, and I trusted the manager to get this spot on for this particular occasion, and he did.
That's why he's the best. He's the best paid manager in Celtic's history because he churns out results like this when a section when you need them the most. It's come up trumps for him, and yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with how the game has transpired. It's definitely made this international break, as I've said before, it's made it a lot easier. The fact that Celtic are going in 4 points clear. Not 4 points clear of Motherwell. They're joint top with Motherwell. Celtic are ahead in goal difference, which says a lot about Motherwell's start to the season. Tremendous from them. But, at the end of the day, it will be Celtic and Rangers at the top of the table. So 4 points clear of Rangers at this juncture is incredible, to be honest. Given how Celtic have started the league as well, and the way that they've played, I know the League Cup game was a bitter disappointment, but 4 points clear, can't beat that.
Sean Gregg, Tony, Kyogo's goal's a cracker. Don't need to tell me a belter. Thomas Gallagher, his goal was similar to his goal to Dodrick. It was because he took it early, which is why he probably beat the keeper. Just maybe both goalkeepers didn't think he was going to take it that early. Listen, guys, almost 500 people joined us. I think at one point it topped the 500 mark, over 500 joiners. Can't do it without you. We love your opinions and your thoughts as well. And on a day like this, you can't get enough of them. I said at the top of the programme, happy talk, eh? Talk about things you like to do. Well, Celtic love to do a thing called Beat the Rangers, and they did that today, and everybody just kind of wants to join in and have their say. But it's been a good day. It'll be a happy Monday, Ryan.
We've been waiting for one of them for a wee while now, yeah. So it'll be a very happy Monday. Do you fancy talking about the game again tomorrow? I don't know about you, but I certainly.
I love watching it back when they've won and you can pick out certain things because personally for myself, I've only seen it in real time. I didn't get the benefit of the replays. Yep, Captain Sensible, Tony, indeed, Alan Woods. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe a wee Celtic that reference here, but hey, it's most of you are intelligent people and get where we're coming from on this show. We cater for both, don't we? I like to cater for the Celtic Daz and young Ryan there caters for the YT. Isn't that right, Al? Ryan, the young team, the YT, as you would call it. Eh?
Did not expect those words to be coming from your mouth, Tony. You've caught me off guard there on a Sunday night.
It's just been one of those days, eh? Busy
Definitely has been. Yeah, it's been a very, very busy day, but it's made a lot easier by the result.
Correct. I think it'd have been a hell of a lot harder to take had Celtic succumbed today, but they didn't. Kyogo's wonderful strike from 20 yards. You can go and watch Sports Scene or reruns of the Sky Sports game tonight on your tellies, and you can bask in it all over again. Ryan, it's always great when you do that and you pick out certain things, but we'll try and save up some things to talk about tomorrow. But if not, we'll just go over the same ground. But you never tire of talking about Celtic.
One of those cut and paste
against
jobs.
Rangers, do you? Yeah. Cut, paste, yes, exactly. Control C, Control V, for those of you who are computer literate. That's for Ryan's
Control
benefit.
CFC in Glasgow today.
Yes. Hey, there you go. Can't get better than that. What a wonderful segue that was. Marvellous. It's nearly been 55 minutes, guys. We could talk about this all night, but we'll have to do it all again tomorrow, and it's fantastic. But I will let you guys go and enjoy Sports Scene or whatever it is you watch you watch the highlights tonight again. You can bask in Kyogo Furuhashi's beautiful 20-yard strike. Another thing of beauty against Rangers at Ibrox, Ryan.
Yes, absolutely. First of the season and that fixture for Kyogo. It's been a great 2023 for him, all in terms of goals against Rangers, and hopefully he can have some more before the year's out. I think the next one's December the 30th for that game, around about that time. So hopefully can add to that growing number of goals against Rangers. He's definitely, that was always the one team that he hadn't scored against, and he scored one. It's like a bus station. There's like 5 of them coming at the same time. So yeah, can't complain. Just a good day at the office.
Guys, we'll see you all again tomorrow. Just quickly before we go, we'll draw your attention to the strap line along the bottom. We always do. If you like what we do on here on the YouTube podcasts and the videos and the briefings, you can help us help you by subscribing to the Celtic Way, and we'll provide or endeavour to provide top quality football journalism covering the club you love. It's all for the click of a button. £4 for 4 months is the current deal, and that's on www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Ryan, thank you for joining me today. Excellent stuff. Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Kyogo Furuhashi is the top marksman.
That's it.
Take care.
Yes,
Tomorrow.
yeah, absolutely. Cheers, guys.